talk about some of those other things which are very nourishing. Okay, so I'll very quickly just give some background. So I think it's very important to have an evolutionary perspective. I think people get, scientists, nutritionists, all the conventional experts, they get very confused about diet. Why is it so hard for everybody to figure out what the healthiest diet is? Well, the biomedical literature has over 22 million papers. And how much can a person read? You know, you can read maybe 2 or 3 papers a day, so maybe 1,000 a year. In a career, you might read 1/10% of the literature. There's 1 million new papers being added every year. You can read maybe 1,000 a year. So, you know, you're always falling farther behind. Everybody's got a very narrow view on the literature. They're only going to get a partial view, and they'll always have selection bias. They'll come from their specialty. Academics are specialized. So it's like the parable of the blind man and the elephant. You know, if you're feeling a leg, then an elephant looks like a tree. If you're feeling the tail, it looks like a rope. It's the same way with diet. It's very hard to get this big picture view. And I think the only place that we do get a big picture view that's really accurate and trustworthy is from evolutionary evidence. And so we use, in our diet, we look at 5 sources of evolutionary evidence. So, you know, one is Paleolithic diets of hunter-gatherers. Another is mammalian diets, the diets that other warm-blooded mammals like us eat. And that's quite interesting. I'll talk about that a little bit more. But that means we're not just looking at the Paleolithic, we're looking at the Cenozoic, which goes back to 60 million years ago when mammals diversified. The composition of breast milk, which we know was selected to be the perfect food for infants. So that tells us something about what's really nourishing for little humans. And we can look at how the nutrient needs change as we age and adjust that for adults. The ability to fast, we should be able to survive a fast and still hunt and gather our food, so we should be able to function just cannibalizing ourselves for energy. And then the innate food preferences of the human brain. So the brain has an evolved reward system which tells us to like certain things that we need that are good for us and to dislike other things that are bad for us. And that gives us some insight into what is good for us. So we started from an evolutionary perspective. That got us close to the truth. And then we went through that medical literature as best we could. We spent like 5 years doing that to look at all the nutrients, figure out how to optimize the intake of each nutrient, and eliminate toxins from our diet. And so refine the paleo diet to get to the healthiest possible one. The reason we did that, we had health problems that doctors were no help with. We had no idea what was causing it, so we figured we'll just fix everything we possibly can and see if that helps us. And it did. So in my case, fixing the diet cleared up a lot of things. The remaining symptoms were so simple and clear that it became possible to recognize them as due to a bacterial infection, and I took antibiotics and was fine. So, all right. So probably most of you are familiar with this. This comes from a famous paper by Lauren Cordain.